Welcome to the Parenting Roundabout podcast for the week of April 3rd, 2023. I'm Terry Morrow, and I'm here with Catherine Holeko.
Hello.
And Nicole Eridix.
Hello.
Every week we chat about what parents are talking, complaining, and obsessing about right now. This week, we're complaining about birthday parties for adult kids and obsessing about what is an adult kid anyway. We also take a couple of breaks for an entertainment discussion and a recommendation roundup. Today, we are talking about that post-college interlude. Nicole, your daughter is coming up on that time between the end of college and the beginning of real life.
She sure is, and she's starting to panic.
It's like a cliff.
Yep.
We know what happens to people who stand at the edge of cliffs.
The big, dark abyss.
Wow. Does she have any idea what she's going to do, or she's just starting now?
Well, we encouraged her to start thinking about, I shouldn't say. Back in the fall, she did apply for some master's programs to go to graduate school, and she did work very hard on them. But she only applied to 3.
Yeah.
And they're very competitive programs. She's heard back from one of them, which didn't work out. But so she's starting to panic because now it's the end of March and we're getting into April. Her classes finish in a week. And so she's, if she, either way, she has to work the summer, whether or not she goes to grad school.
Yeah.
And with her classes ending, her school funding ends. And she needs to get onto a job ASAP.
Yes.
And so there's that whole issue of finding a job to be able to support herself because mommy and daddy's bank is closing.
Yes. The bank of mom and dad never truly closes.
Yeah, we are done. And
there's an ATM somewhere in a dark alley that never gets shut down.
This time it's done. And so, if she is unable to find work, then she's going to have to come home. And live for, where she can
not
be here.
That.
So that's the motivation and the incentive to get her act together and start applying.
You could always come home.
Right. Yes, of course. And that was met with, no.
There's a McDonald's down the street. I bet you could get a job there, honey.
Exactly.
But if she comes home, that's where the cats are.
Oh, that's right.
It's definitely a pull, but then,
and
she's got to decide between the cats and the boyfriend.
Oh, wow.
The boyfriend stays up there.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so she's trying to figure out how to manage that. And then of course she's now, because she's had this time to think about grad school, now she's flip-flopping between what she wants to do with her career. So she's in a big old chaotic quandary right now.
Yeah.
She does not know what she's going to do. And so I'm just trying to, every day I send her jobs that I see online. That's my contribution, but I don't, it's hard. I don't know. What did you guys do as soon as you graduated? Like what was your plan? Did you move back home?
I think I had my job lined up before I graduated. I know I found it in the college placement office. They had big notebooks full of jobs for English majors, and one of them was for Hallmark cards, and I thought that was hilarious. Yeah, I'm going to go work for Hallmark cards. And they had a portfolio that you would fill out, and I filled it out, was writing little verses and matching verses with designs and stuff. And I thought, well, this is a hoot. And then they offered me a job. Because I have always been in Kansas City. Yes. Right. And so I've always been somebody who just jumps off the biggest ledge I can. So sure, I'll go to Kansas City and work. I lasted a year and a half. I had one bad romance and then I got homesick and went home. So, but anyway, when I graduated, I was like, well, English major, got a job that has something to do with words. And look at me. I'm off to another state.
Wow.
So I was I'm sure I lived with my parents for a little bit that summer before it came time to go, but it was definitely that summer that I moved. So
right.
My mom and I drove halfway across country, and then I traded in the car for another one, and she flew back. So
wow.
Yeah, big time.
And
look at me.
Who did you live with?
In Kansas City?
Yeah.
I lived with myself.
Oh, you lived
I didn't know
yourself.
anybody there. I didn't know anybody.
Wow.
They set me up. I mean, I think I flew out there for an interview, and then I maybe flew out there to set me up in advance before I actually moved. And they helped me find an apartment. First apartment I had there was great. It was a furnished apartment, and I think it was a 1-bedroom. Maybe it was a studio. And it was in a place that had indoor parking. And it was on the edge of this place called Country Club Plaza, which had movie theaters and restaurants. It was just a place you could go walk around. It was terrific. And then for some reason, another girl there and I thought, hey, let's be roommates. And we both were in that building. We said, let's find, and we found this apartment that was way out, far from work, like a forested area. She chickened out, but I really liked it. And of course, in Kansas City, I could get this gorgeous 2-bedroom apartment for what I was making as a, college graduate entry-level worker.
Right.
So I, just in time for it to start snowing, is when I moved to the place that was far away from work and did not have a covered indoor garage. So that was fun. That was a nice apartment though, man. It was cheap. So yeah, so I lived by myself, found my way around, did things by myself. It was brave and it was fun. But after about a year and a half, I either got homesick or I got a broken heart and was embarrassed, or I got tired of the job and I had that thing which has followed me throughout my career, which is that if I quit, I wouldn't have to do this thing that's on my desk. I could quit. So I think it was a combination of those two things.
Those things, yeah.
Yes, but it was a good start to my career, and it got me pretty much all the work I've had since in one way or another. So, and it was also a terrific job. It was an amazing job. I was too young to appreciate what a good job it was. And after I'd worked a few other places, I went, oh, that was really, they took care of their people there really, really well. And I did not appreciate it. So
as a youngster.
Yeah. As a youngster, you go in saying, well, here I am with my college degree. I know everything. What, you're saying you don't want to take my opinion because you have, I don't know, 50 years of sales figures? Oh, can't believe it. So maybe there's a problem with getting a good job right out of college. It's hard to get your big head through the doorways, go to meetings. But yeah, so I hit the ground running.
Yeah.
And have not really stopped running ever since.
Right.
How about you,
That's
Catherine?
great.
You went to start your magazine career, right? Right after college?
Yes, pretty much. I mean, I don't know how I even found out about it, but I took a summer course, I think it was only 3 or 4 weeks. Maybe it was 6 weeks. Anyway, it was at the time at Radcliffe College. It now, I believe, has moved to Columbia. And it was for book and magazine publishing. And so it must have been 6 weeks, 3 weeks of book publishing, 3 weeks of magazine publishing, where you just learned about all the different parts of the industry. And they had, tons and tons of guest speaker, basically every day was a different professional person working in the field who would come and speak. And then, we had big projects where we had to, put out an actual magazine or, have a mock book publishing house where we said, here are all the books that we're going to publish. And we had to actually contact writers and say, well, if we had a deal and it was this, would you take it? Basically. And then of course it had a lot of career placement stuff that went along with it. So it was a really, really good thing to do. I don't even remember how I found out about it, but but it was quite essential to getting me my first job. And because the person who hired me was a graduate of the class from years before. And, but of course everyone there wanted to work in either book or magazine publishing, and you'd go and have your sort of one-on-one conversation with the director about what you wanted to do. And I'd say, I want to work in magazines. And she's like, okay, well, you have to be prepared to work for like Barbie magazine or Field and Stream or, like something. You're not going to get to like go work at People. Like you need to understand that.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, I know. But then I got to work at Redbook, which was a Seven Sisters women's magazine. So it was actually, I did get very lucky because, I was competing against everybody else in that class and just everyone else in New York who wanted those kind of jobs. I mean, that was back in the day where a magazine of that size had like 5 or 6 editorial assistants, which, now there are 0. even the magazines that still exist, do not have people like that anymore.
Right.
But I also so I did this program, and so that meant that, when I graduated, I knew that I would soon be going to Boston to do this thing. But then after that, I didn't know, because I didn't really want to move to New York, because I was like, oh my God, New York. Like it sounds like a lot.
Right.
I was sort of hoping like, I'd like to work for some kind of magazine in like Philadelphia or Washington, D.C. or, something a little.
Those hubs of magazine publishing.
Right, exactly. This is the problem. So, I just remember that was stressful. Like, you don't know where not knowing where I was going to be.
Right.
And then once I did finish the class, then I went home to see my parents for a little while and start like sending out letters and doing interviews, or, start applying to things. And then I had to go back to New York, and that was when I lived in the Home for Wayward Girls for a couple weeks. And then I finally got my job and my apartment.
A Home for Wayward Girls.
Yes, it was an actual like sort of single room, hostel type of place. For
And you live there by yourself?
Yeah. With like the bathroom down the hall and the payphone and the whole.
Wow.
And I was like looking for a job, so I would have to like call people from the payphone or give people the payphone number.
Those were the days.
For them to call me.
Oh my God. And then you had to wait for the payphone to ring.
Yep. Pretty much.
It sounded like my dorm in university.
So, and then, but then after a little time there, somebody who I knew from the publishing course, whose family lived in Westchester, which is a suburb, she invited me to come stay with her parents.
Oh, nice.
And they were incredibly nice people. And it was far out in Westchester. Like it was real far, but it was free.
That was
and then when did you get your job?
To the orphanage and took you in.
Yes, pretty much.
Plucked you out.
And then eventually,
they didn't make you scrub things or anything.
No, they were so sweet. But yeah, and then eventually it didn't take all that long, and I got my job, and then I got an apartment, and that was that.
Nice. Yeah.
Wow.
And I was the only one of my little gang of editorial assistants that didn't live either at home or with a relative.
Wow.
Because of how much we were paid, and we were supposed to be living in Manhattan.
Were they all impressed with you? Like, she's really living the
life. I mean, everybody was just trying to get through it. I mean, most of them are still my good friends, so.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Are they still living at home?
No. No, not anymore.
So was the job all cracked up to what you thought it would be?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah. I mean, it was as expected, and I wanted to get into the industry, and it worked for that. So.
And then isn't that where you met your husband?
No. That wasn't.
Oh, that was another.
That wasn't for a few more years. He was working at People magazine at the time.
Oh, he was there.
But he was, he was in advertising, not editorial.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Wow.
So
Nicole, tell us your story.
Oh God. Well, I had a teaching certificate when I left school, but there were no teaching jobs to be had.
Oh.
All those boomers were still taking up those jobs.
Hey.
And
be nice.
And so I went home and I lived at home for about 4 months, and I volunteered at Immigrant Center for New Immigrants, and I taught ESL classes for free. I volunteered, and then my husband had a job, and so that was out of town. It was like 2 hours north, and so I moved up there, and just basically was a substitute teacher until I think I was a substitute teacher for about 6 months until I got a job. So it was a good chunk of time waiting around for a job to happen. So yeah, it was not like these days. I mean, the teachers that I supervise, student teachers that I supervise, they've all had jobs before they've even graduated. And I'm like, darn, that would have made my life so much easier. But oh well, it builds character, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Sure.
That's
what we tell ourselves.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a pretty stressful time, that's for sure. Just kind of wondering when that was going to come along.
Right.
So
yeah, and it feels like forever, but it's really not. But
no, in the big picture.
Your daughter too. I mean, it'll seem like eons, but
yeah,
figure it out. So.
Yeah, she'll get something eventually. It's just waiting it out for that. So
yeah,
I don't know.
All right. Well, stay tuned for further updates or for further trips down memory lane. But that is it for today's round 1. Tune in tomorrow for our entertainment-themed round 2 and later in the week to find out what we are complaining about, obsessing about, and recommending right now. We're always interested in what you have to say, so drop us a comment on our website, our Facebook page, or Twitter, where you'll find us at Roundabout Chat.